What's up, everyone? This is the DraftKings Fantasy Six Pack Cash Game Show. I'm your host, Keith Flemming. Apologies for last week. My co host, Joe Matz, is already aware of this, but we had to take my wife to the emergency room. She's fine. Let me start by saying that, but she looked like Ducky from Land Before Time. That's how much her top lip was swollen. It was the second time in 48 hours, and despite her stubborn ass fighting me, I dragged her to the hospital where they still haven't really figured out what is going on. With an actual visit this week to a allergist as well. So maybe she was right and I was wrong. Who knows? But we apologize again for last week missing it. It was your loss, especially on Joe Matt's side, because Joe's just sending me winning lineup after winning lineup last week. And I'm like, screw you, Joe. First of all, I didn't have a good week, so why didn't we get together so I could have got those plays? And B,
I'm curious, real quick. Who were your main plays last week?
so I was all in on May, but I didn't play him, but in like one lineup. But there was two QBs I gave. It was basically May and there was one even cheaper that I ended up playing. Oh, it was Danny Dimes. And then I ended up like the really good plays was like I had London in every lineup, had St. Brown in every lineup. Unfortunately, there was a guy that obviously did better than St. Brown, which that was a bummer. But and it was just one of those deals where I did not put the right lineup together. And also, just there were some monster defensive performances, and I got like none of it. And what was most
Yeah.
frustrating was the Giants was actually one of them that I was considering. They were like $2,200. They had a good game, but I ended up now. Granted, it was not a wipe like it has been most of the first three
Yeah, yeah.
weeks, but I still ended up losing like probably 15% of what I put in. And I felt like if you look at the cash game cheat sheet, the plays were pretty good.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, this is, of course, how it works, because we don't have our pod, so I don't do quite as much research, and I don't get the extra info from you that I'm used to getting. And then Saturday, I was just like, whatever. I'm trying to remember. It was last Saturday. I think I saw one battle after another, so I was just doing that. I'm not paying attention to football. I wake up Sunday morning, like, all right, I got to set some lineups. And it was like I set one lineup. I was like, you know what? This lineup feels pretty good. I'm not going to mess with it. And so the only things I swapped in and out were the defense and the tight end. And otherwise, across the board, I was going Drake May, Cook, and Hampton as my running back.
That's what killed me. I had Hampton on my cash game cheat sheet, had an X, which I only put that by like usually one or two players at each position that's a lock play, right?
Yeah.
And I played him in 2 of 8 lineups. Like, what are you doing, Keith?
Yeah, so that's one where you needed me as the Giants fan to be like, hey, even
We're
if the
bad.
defense plays good, which it did, not good against the run. Still a huge problem. So yeah, Hampton was, like you said, a lock play. Receiver was more of a mixed bag. I got Puka and I got London in every lineup.
Oh, good
Doomsday
God. Well, now I know why. Because that was the difference was I
that
had
was the
St.
one that
Brown,
fucked
felt
you. Yeah.
great about it until Puka just kept catching passes.
And then the ones that weren't home runs, Doomsday did fine. But
Yeah.
that was the game that messed me
Caleb
up.
was the other quarterback that I played a good bit.
Mm-hmm. And then the other guy I was throwing in lineups was Jacoby Myers, and he was the one snowflake frozen symbol I had. And of course, it's not like he did anything wrong. It's Geno
He got a
Smith
bunch of volume,
threw
didn't he?
3 interceptions too.
Yeah, Geno was awful.
So you keep giving the ball away. And then my defenses, 2 of the 3 were trash because I did, the Browns and someone else. But I was looking through those tight ends, and I put in Hunter Henry, I put in Njoku, and then I was like, you know what, Kyle Pitts. I know I've already got London in there. I was like, let's throw Kyle Pitts in one. Then I was like, I got a little extra money. So I put in the Jags defense, which is
Jags was my best
machine.
defense. Yeah, they may be for real defensively.
So yeah, that was my that lineup was my first 200-point lineup of the year, and sadly, if I've gone,
I don't think I've hit 190 yet, much less 200.
6 point 0.09 away from going from winning 150 to winning 750, and then
it's unbelievable the difference.
That would legitimately be rent for me for a month. So
no, you remember last
that would
year
have been nice.
It was like, I think it was the first week that I won like $1,000 in a contest, but it was like only like 3.4 points from 10,000, and I'm going, it's almost worse when you get up there and it's like just, a point or two, because at least if you're just cashing, doubling your money or whatever, you're happy. But then when it's that close, you're going, if I would have just done this or that.
And then part of me is like, I almost didn't enter lineups because I didn't do these till 9 in the morning Arizona time. So that's, an hour before games play. And then the Sunday night game, I was like, you know what, fuck it, I never do the single game lineups.
Yeah, what a dick move, by the way, by your boy Joe Matz here, that he had this great day. I told him mine was kind of, and then he's texting me the next morning, oh, by the way, I also killed it in the single. I had Dobbs as my captain everywhere. It's like, are you freaking kidding?
And, of course, the one guy I didn't have, because I was like, this is actually, if you guessed right on the Packers receiver, which, thankfully
you did.
It was like the Cowboys, it's like, you're just like, oh, you've got Dak, and you've got Ferguson, and you've got Pickens, and you just pick two of them. And I went Ferguson, and that way I could at least throw in Musgrave as like my sixth guy.
Right.
Oh, maybe he'll get some points. And then that fourth quarter and overtime happened, and I went from winning like $600 to winning $40. So, Pickens, which, maybe Pickens will win me back some money this week. We'll see.
He's such a beast. I try to tell people, because I think even before the Lamb injury,
very smart right now.
He was starting to show that you give that dude a quarterback, Pickens can get the ball, man. Like, he really can. Now, could he be a headache and do all kinds of crazy? Yeah, like that's the gamble with Pickens. But talent-wise, man, he's such a good wide receiver. All right, every week, we get together, we go through position by position, just kind of talk out, our favorite cash game plays. Starting at the QB position, I know that if you follow this show each week, you're probably about to be like, Keith, don't jinx him. Don't do this. Because week 2, after, granted, now I also said this week 1 and was proved right. And then week 2, it didn't go well for my boy Justin Fields. It went real bad. Again, I would argue without the injury and his rushing upside and them being down so much, I think he would have salvaged it. Just because that's what
true.
Fields does.
It's a good
point.
Not
saying he had a monster game, but I bet he would have got 10, 15 points. Like, I really do. But I just, I can't not start him. They're not raising his price. This is arguably, it is the best matchup he's had. Dallas is dead last versus QBs. The only QB that they face that's an elite runner, by the way. Jalen Hurts had 60 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns week 1. And again, despite counting his week 2 performance, where, by the way, he scored 4 points, ladies and gentlemen, Fields is now 7th among QBs in points per game, which was what I was screaming all summer. He's a top 5, top 10 quarterback, without a doubt, fantasy-wise, when he gets to start and, have the reins of the offense. And he's already, again, despite that performance, week 2, first in fantasy points per drop back. And again, now he's facing a Dallas defense that they can't stop anybody. So I'm going to play him. I will probably stack him with Garrett Wilson some, and I'm going to stack him with Mason Taylor some. And we will discuss that as we get to the wide receivers and tight ends, but both of them extremely reasonable. I would assume, right, Joe, you want as many pieces of a Cowboys game now as possible if it's a pretty condensed offenses, which that's the great thing about the Jets. They are.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas has legitimately been – the Dolphins, I think, are the only other team that's in this conversation for the team that's been the worst defense in the NFL so far this season.
And the Ravens.
That's true. The Ravens have also been awful. Although,
I mean, there's reasoning for it, but they're bottom 10 in pass yards allowed.
Yeah, no, they've
rushing, passing, points
been
per game,
legitimately terrible
across the board. They can't stop anybody. And they played Cleveland, by the way, in Kansas City. Okay, so think about that. Baltimore's giving up 33 points per game, and they've played Cleveland and Kansas City. Dallas is giving up 33 points per game. And I'm sorry, Joe Matz, I have to say this, but they've played the Giants.
Throw it in.
with Russell Wilson.
Right. It's like that. Russell Wilson's just like exhibit A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. Like you don't need anything else. It's because like Green Bay, you're like, all right, well, Green Bay had that off week against Cleveland because that D-line ate them up. But that's a really good offense. And you're like, oh, they played Philly. That's, a good offense. Russell Wilson, the Giants offense looked incompetent against Washington, which is a mediocre defense. And then in week 3, they looked awful against Kansas City, which is a good defense, but again, looks terrible. And then he gets benched after 3 weeks. And in the middle of that, he throws for 450 yards. And the Giants scored 37 points. So, yeah, again, like DVOA, which we are now, we're in the point of the season where DVOA now reflects scheduling. So we're now going, hey, it's not just based on the numbers. We're also saying who you faced.
Yep.
Dead last, Dallas Cowboys. And then
I
PFF
think
grade
says that as well.
Yeah, PFF grade. Second to last, only Miami's worst. Dallas Cowboys. So, if you're whether you're watching the film the way PFF does or you're crunching all the numbers the way FTN does, this is one of the 2 worst defenses in the NFL. And so, yeah, the Jets, obviously, they're not – Fields potentially, like you said, is someone that maybe isn't fully matchup proof because, we saw in week 2, their bad games will happen. But he's pretty close to it, especially at that price point. And then you're like, this is the ideal matchup for every offense, especially passing.
Also for Fields, like the more he drops back, the more likely he's going to run and get big gains. It's like it's not the design runs; it's the takeoff and the pass plays. He sends to make these huge plays, and that's what I love about Dallas is they're a terrible defense who scores a ton of points. Like I joked this summer, right, that they were the discount city Cincinnati Bengals. They are the Cincinnati Bengals.
Nailed it. That is 100%. Turned out to be 100% accurate. And the other nice thing is because before, back in the Robert Saleh days of the New York Jets, or really most of, from Rex Ryan to him for most of those years, Todd Bowles in there, Jets were a really good defense. And, it's like, all right, well, how many times is he going to drop back if this is a 17-13 game? Jets defense has not been that good.
I don't know what I know they changed schemes, but I did not expect it to take a month. And some of these offenses that have looked awful, like the Steelers, the the Dolphins, just moving the ball at will.
There are only 4 teams that have a worse PFF coverage grade than the Dallas Cowboys, and the New York Jets are one of them.
It's crazy.
So this is underrated shootout potential, which honestly, I'd say every Dallas game has that potential. So, I think this is an awesome, you can go Fields, you can go Garrett Wilson, you can go Breece Hall, you can kind of do whatever you want. And then, light up George Pickens against a team that's
Ferguson is my favorite play this week.
A ton of man coverage.
But, I can't sit Ferguson. The volume
that's the beauty. Again,
at 4,800.
You talked about how the Jets are consolidated offense, where it's like we can pretty much just go, it's probably these 3 guys and anyone else is random. The Cowboys are the same. You can obviously throw Javonte Williams in there, but in the passing game, it's going to be Pickens. It's going to be Ferguson. Maybe you get a random Turbin game or something. But
Tolbert's getting 6 targets a game for 3,800. I don't hate him either this week.
No, the price point, you can throw those guys in there too, but you could feel pretty good about Pickens and Ferguson at whatever price, basically, until CeeDee Lamb comes back. As long as we're on the QBs, though, I think you're hard-pressed to honestly go with anyone else because I think he's a top 5 play overall. And then you factor in the price point, and it just goes, why would I do anything else? Like I said, I think, you could play Dak, but you're just, he got a rushing touchdown last week. It's possible, but the rushing's not usually going to be there. So you're counting fully on the passing game. Herbert's got a beat to shit offensive line. Jackson Dart, if you need to go even cheaper than Justin Fields, there's
I
potential
did consider that with New Orleans, but they're not a terrible defense. They
haven't been awful.
Dart has the rushing upside. So if he has 2 rushing touchdowns at his price, you're there.
Because he did really nothing in the passing game. And still came out with a solid game last week because of the rushing. But it's a rookie in his second start, his first road start. The risk there feels so much greater than Justin Fields playing the Dallas Cowboys.
100%. The only other guy I really considered, because I'm with you, like Herbert was the guy, because he's pretty low priced. I mean, I think it's like 6,100.
It's not bad.
But it's the tackle deal, because Vegas it's a pass funnel. Like that, they're giving up almost 9 yards per pass play, and they're giving up like 3.3 yards per rush attempt, and that's actually been basically 3 out of the 4 games. I think they've given up less than 3.3 yards or less to just all the opposing runners. So, but Daniel Jones was the other guy that you could convince me in, for that reason, that I just think that they're going to end up throwing it a good bit, because like I said, the Raiders are somebody that they're gonna, I think, slow down Jonathan Taylor. That's definitely their goal.
Certainly the goal.
And they give up a lot of big passing plays, which we know, that's also good for Daniel Jones, he does have some, I actually like when Alec Pierce is out, because I think we saw it last week with A.D. Mitchell. Now he needs to hold on to the ball. But he is a real weapon in that offense, and somebody I was very excited when they drafted him. I thought that was a really good fit with Shane Steichen and everything. He's had some issues that I think off the field and just learning the playbook, stuff like that. Dropping the ball before he scores, etc. At least he was reaching out and not dropping it. But
it wasn't as bad as a lot of the ones we've seen.
But he definitely was trying to make sure he got his ass in the end zone.
Wasn't as bad as Chad Powers, if anyone's watched the pilot.
Oh, that was so good, by the way. I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. And my wife had to be the one to remind me of the Eli commercial. Sports Center thing.
Right.
I completely forgot that's what it's created off of.
Give my guy credit.
That's my jam. Because I was like, why is Eli freaking exist? It's like, oh shit, that's his character. We're going to be having canon here soon, discussions on what is canon and what's not for, Powers. But the QBs are easy. Running backs, it's such a tricky week. We talked about this a little bit before the show, because there's some real values. You want to go to the Arizona backfield. They're playing a Tennessee team. Hold on, I want to make sure I get this right, because this was included in my main slate preview of what they've allowed to running backs over the last couple of weeks. It is insane. So they're both, obviously dirt cheap. And then on top of that, you have the advantage of, I think that Rachaad White, if we look at the snap share, as much as I wanted to get excited about Sean Tucker, it sure does look like, with what we saw, last time this happened, that Rachaad White is going to get a majority of the touches. So, okay, here it is. Tennessee, over their last 3 games, running backs have rushed for 328 yards and 5 scores, while also catching 11 passes for 95 yards and an additional score. Whew.
That'll work.
And they can't score points. So you would think if you guess the right Arizona back.
That's the tricky part. It'll be a surprise that the production's not there. It's, DeMercado, he hit, yards per carry. He was awesome last year, but, very small sample size. Carter, I mean, hey, maybe this is the North Carolina rejuvenation year with Carter and Javonte Williams. Maybe that's what this turns into.
Yeah.
I'm hoping so, because I had to pick Carter up in one of my leagues where
I went and got Carter over DeMarcado in a bunch.
I did too. I have no idea if that was the right choice, but fingers crossed.
He's already saying he's the starter, Joe, which that's good.
Well,
he said he's been told he's going to get the early down work. So
that was my hope, is that he would be, and obviously, we're playing PPR here, but we're also talking about.
Oh, he can catch passes. People don't act like Carter is not a pass catching back.
But the other thing is, like you said, the Titans have been giving up receptions, but also, unless something goes wrong, really wrong, because the Titans have looked as bad as any team in the NFL this year. You're thinking this is a pretty run-heavy script for the Cardinals in this game. So that
328 yards and 5 rushing touchdowns the last 3 weeks. It's rough.
I will say Rashad's probably the guy who I'm just locking into every lineup.
Okay, so see, this is where I need you.
I
because
just
was
think
on
the safety
fence.
is there, like you said. Now, the danger is that Seattle defense looks really good, but I generally trust Tampa Bay not to just lay a complete egg. And then, we've seen it. Last year he was splitting snaps with Bucky Irving, and he was still productive.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
double digits.
If they're down because Sam Darnold keeps up this hot streak and the Seattle defense is playing really good in the first half, all right, we can catch 7 passes. We can catch 8 passes. Like, we're not worried about it. And yeah, I just feel there's always the chance, because that happened that 1 week last year where Tucker ran for like 120 yards. But
White was out in that game, though. That was the Bucky and Tucker game.
That's right. It was a Bucky and Tucker game. So yeah, I mean, the thing to me there is just I feel safe that he's playing 70+% of the snaps. And I just don't feel as safe with the Cardinals guys. That doesn't mean I'm not putting any of those Evans guys in.
With the Godwin still like getting ramped back up, like Ibuka for all the great numbers. And I don't want people get so defensive. I'm just pointing out a lot of the metrics are not great. Like, obviously the performances and metrics can be proven. There's outliers, right? Anomalies. But typically over time, it is concerning. And I'm just saying that, and it may just be all the coverage he's getting, but he's just not, his separation score, all that kind of stuff is not great. So White is, so to me, then that's where we should start. Then he should be in a majority lineup. Because that's what I was going to say. I think you kind of have to start one of these guys because it's just too much of a value. They have good matchups.
100%.
Because like Seattle is actually better versus the pass than they are versus the run. So
I mean, there's very few teams you look around the NFL and you just go, oh man, that's a good secondary, and you don't go, oh, except for this one super obvious weakness that's a problem. It's like, no, that Seattle secondary is sound. And then I mean, McDonald is up there with anyone when you're talking about designing a defense.
But it also just makes me think that means if Rachaad White's playing 70% of the snap, his floor in receptions could be 5-6 at least.
It very well could be. Unless this is, I think the only way it probably isn't is if this is a Sam Darnold meltdown game, in which case he's going to get more carries, so we don't really care that much.
I don't know if Tampa's defense is elite. I go back and forth.
I don't think
Philly was moving really, really well, and then they Phillied. But yeah, so that I guess White would be the guy for me. Like, you could make a really strong case for A-Chain. He's a more expensive version of what you're talking about. Absolutely. I mean, this is a guy with a 21% target share, and Tyreek Hill was just lost for the season, okay? I just think that there's a very good chance that, again, 6-7 receptions is probably his floor. And then you have the added bonus that Carolina, not a great run defense either. And they give up a lot of explosive runs. So you could get the double whammy there, right? And it's also a game that Carolina looks like they're going to be missing a lot of people, including Chuba Hubbard. Miami gets up. But I actually think, though, if I'm going to play White and you are going to get me to pivot to where, because I had only been sprinkling in Carter, but you're right. For 700 more, kind of knowing the opportunity and the things, with the pass game, I am going to put him in. He's just too good of a value. I think your boy Scatterboo is the guy this week. He's still only 6K. We saw the last piece of the concern that I had go away last week where he played like 75% of the snaps. Like that had been the one thing. He had only been on the field for like 50, 60% at the most. And he's another guy. If you look at like his points per game metrics and all these numbers, receiving yards, rushing yards, don't forget he played like 2 snaps week 1. Okay, so like he's doing all this with a nothing performance week 1. And then, oh, by the way, he's playing one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. And what I loved about Scatterboo coming out of college is he catch passes. So like he reminds me so much of Bucky Irving last year when Bucky first took over the Tampa backfield. And it took DK a while to realize how expensive he should be. And it took the masses a while to realize, oh, this dude's going to score 15 to 20 points every week. Like, you can just lock it in. And then when he has an explosion game, when he's down in this, like, upper 5, low 6K range, I mean, you're looking at potentially like 5, 6 times his salary. I think it's a home run play. You would assume they're going to lean on the run more with now Neighbors being lost for the season. Like, and
I would
Tracy
certainly.
is still, like, I don't know if he's been ruled out, but he's doubtful. So that just means, again, monster volume for a guy 6K. And a great thing, again, kind of like what we were talking about with the Jets Dallas, but the opposite, the Saints can't score points. So Scadaboo's going to continue to get the ball, but you made the point, even if they shock us, and they do, that's the great thing about Scadaboo. He ran routes on 70% of the passing plays last week. He already had like 2 of 3 games that he started, catching 5, 6 passes. So I just think he's a lock for me. Like, I'm putting him in almost every lineup.
Yeah, I love Scott. This is really the running back game to me, because now the problem is, do you trust Kamara at his price point? And do you want to risk Kendre Miller when you've got all these other guys who you can guarantee snaps? But I mean, yes, I co-sign everything about Cam Scadabo you just said. B, I just want to go over how bad this Giants run defense is, because I feel like it's worth talking about. So running back yards per carry, they're giving up 6.04 yards per carry. The Bears are somehow worse at 6.05.
Well, Genty probably had a good bit to do with that.
I would imagine.
Did you see how many yards he had before contact last week?
Before, I'm sure it was terrible again. I mean, that 4th down play, he got hit 6 yards in the backfield.
16 yards before contact. And he rushed for like 138.
Yeah. It was a reminder that, like, oh, no, he is actually, like, don't get confused by those first few weeks. He is awesome. The problem is that offensive line is terrible. It's being coached by Pete Carroll's son. Yay, nepotism. Sorry, Raiders fans. But, yeah, if you give that guy a chance, he's going to do great things. The thing with the Giants' run defense is there's no saving grace to it. Like, FTN looks at power success. So we're talking 3rd, 4th, or goal line, 2 yards or less. They've given up 100% success rate in those situations. They
oh, my God.
Stop. So far this year, there are only 2 teams that have done that according to their tracking, and it's actually the Bills and the Giants. Then you go, like, all right, well, how often are they stuffing people for a loss? 12% of the time. That ranks 30th. And then you go, oh, open field. So how often are they giving, how often?
And they played the Chiefs, by the way, I'd like to add.
Yeah, who can't fucking run for shit? Or at least, I mean, they can run for 2 yards. They can't run for more than 5, though. And then, yeah, open field. So we're going deeper down. Who's giving up the big runs? Obviously, the Bears are the worst because they somehow are giving up more yards per carry to the Giants. But that's the only team. So they're awful in short yardage. They're awful at giving big runs. The coup de grace is DVOA, which, again, I think I say this every year at some point. Passing is, as hopefully everyone knows, passing is more efficient than running. So DVOA, there are only 4 teams in the NFL defensively that don't have a negative DVOA against the run. And negative is good for defense.
Right.
So you only have 4 teams that are positive at all. The Giants are 27.8%. Here's the number of pass defenses that are worse than that. 6. So it is more efficient to run the ball against the New York Giants than it is to pass against all but 6 teams on the season so far. That's how bad this defense has been at stopping the run. Now, again, I think this is kind of a tough one because, do I like Kamara at that price point over Scadabo? I don't know. Maybe it's close. And Kendre Miller in a different week, I'd be like, I'm throwing him in lineups. He's under 5K. He's got the explosiveness.
Saw 11 touches last week, 18 the last 2 weeks.
Like, you can talk me into it. The problem is, it's like, all right, can you talk me into him over Rachaad White, who's, again, going to get 70% of the snaps? No. Can you talk me into him as a more expensive option than the Cardinals guys against the Titans? Probably not. So I don't know how often I'll actually have a Saint in there. But, again, I think people should be aware when you're building your lineups this week, and at least until something major changes every week, look at the running backs who are facing the New York Giants. And the other thing, obviously, is this is one of the few teams that you're not feeling super confident will have a lead against the Giants. Granted, you probably felt that way against the Chargers last week. But again, didn't matter. They were losing the whole game, and Hampton went off for 130 yards. So,
yeah, I just want to add one more thing on the Saints, and then we will get to your question there. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it because I can't pronounce it. What was that, Zolbu? Is that how you say that? But don't forget the Saints last week. They only threw for 125 yards.
Right,
and still the Giants ran for almost 200 yards on a pretty good Buffalo run defense. Like a Buffalo team that, yes, I know they were shredded week 1, but they shut down the Jets' run game altogether. And we see New York obviously get a run with Fields and Hall. So, like in New Orleans' running attack, if you look, it's actually gotten better each week, and they've leaned more and more into it where it's like, look, we're just a lot better running than we are throwing. So, all right, this question real quick. He needs one running back, one wide receiver, one flex. It's full PPR. Okay. So for me, I can go ahead and tell you just by glancing at it, I'm playing both Marks and Dottle. Okay. Do you agree?
I think I'm probably Marks 100%. There's zero question.
With Hubbard out, you're concerned about Dottle against Miami?
No, I'm just.
You like DeMarcado?
I just worry about the Panthers' offense in general, any production. Although again, against Miami, who has been one of the worst defenses, yeah, I'm inclined to go with him just because again, I just think the snap share guarantee compared to DeMarcado feels better, and all of those receivers feel like throwing darts in a way that Dottle doesn't with Hubbard out. So yeah, I'm with you. I think you got to go those two. Receivers a little trickier.
I lean Downs because, again, I was talking about it, that I think Jones is going to be forced to throw for them to move it consistently. And, again, Taylor's so good. I could be proved wrong, but I do think that they are. Alec Pierce is out again. Downs was on the field slightly more, ran routes on slightly more plays with Pierce out last week. I know it didn't really do anything, but to your point, it does. It feels like you're kind of throwing stuff at the wall with all these guys. I mean, Leggett probably has the chance of these four. Actually, I shouldn't say has. He should be, I would think, just 9 times out of 10 going to get the most snaps, the most routes, the most targets. But he's been so bad. Has he even had a really good game in his career yet?
I want to say there was 1 or 2 last year that were okay, but I mean, he was a guy that, I'll be honest, I was not in that draft. Again,
I remember
took him over McConkey.
That's tough.
So yeah, I just don't really believe in him at all. I know the Ravens play a ton of man defense, and it's super small sample size because Kirk hasn't even been on the field this whole season. But I know he's seen a target share bump against man defense, and obviously that's a defense that's banged up. So I think it would be between him and Downs. I think Downs is the better player. If you look at a lot of the advanced metrics, the grading stuff, he still is grading out well. He's just not seeing the ball. In part, I think because that offense is functioning so well, it's just spreading the ball out.
He's not like the first read, right? Like on a lot of passing plays, and Jones is somebody who goes to the first read a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear that Pittman was really banged up last year, and he's back to being.
I said some disparaging things that I'd like to take back.
Yeah, I was pretty out, and then Pierce being out probably helps Adonai Mitchell more than it helps Downs, but I think it helps both of them. So my lean would be Downs, but if his lean is Kirk, I wouldn't argue against it. But yeah, I think you go Marks. And I guess that would be the other risk is how many Texans do you want to play, even if it's against the Ravens. But I would definitely 100% Marks, very in on Dowdle, and then Downs or Kirk, I could go either way.
And just one last thing, because I want to clarify. The only reason I'm so in on Marks, even though I still think his snap percentage is probably around like what it was last week, is you would think that Baltimore, with Cooper Rush, is trailing in this game, even against an anemic Houston offense. I do think that Houston's defense is legit, and they're going to give issues to poor Derrick Henry. He's going to probably have 12 men in the box somehow.
I mean, the Houston defense basically had one bad 2 minutes against the Tampa Bay offense at the end of that game.
Right.
And otherwise, they have been awesome. They deserve to be 4-0 or at least 3-1.
I mean, they shut down the Rams week 1 too. Really, if you look at it,
that defense was awesome. And the Jags are obviously not the greatest offense in the world, but they, for the most part, shut them down.
They're giving up 12.8 points per game over the first
They've
month,
lived
which is
up
outrageous.
to whatever expectations you had for that defense, they have lived up to it. It's the big surprise. It's been the offensive line's fault. So that's the one danger there is, I think if you're trying to do the double up with him and Kirk, is you're just like, well, how many points is the Texans offense actually capable of? But so that would be probably another reason why I think I would lean towards where you're at with, I would go with Downs. But
there's one other back that I want to mention because, again, it's just a treasure trove of cheap guys this week. Rico Dotto, we were just talking about, he's 4,300 facing a Miami team that they allow 158 yards per game on the ground at over 5 yards per attempt. It's not the Giants 6 yards per attempt, but 5 is a lot. And they've given up 5 rushing touchdowns. I just I do. I think that it's, and you have to assume with all the injuries and stuff that Carolina's dealing with, part of that game plan is going to be, look, Hubbard is normally our workhorse. We might as well, go ahead and just give Dottle a ton of touches, while he's out, because he's probably going to go back to the role that he had, beforehand once Hubbard returns. And it looks like it's kind of week to week with Hubbard.
Yeah, I think, again, that offense is scary, but this is one of the few defenses where
he's another guy though that catches passes to where
relatively
if Carolina
confident.
gets down right, he could end up catching a ton of passes in garbage time.
The game script doesn't overly worry me. It's literally just how many touchdown opportunities will he have? That's my only question. But again, outside of maybe Dallas, and I don't even know then because Dallas is worse against the pass than the run. I think this is probably as ideal a matchup as you can find there. The other guy that I'm curious, because we haven't talked about him, how do you feel about Jahmyr Gibbs in that matchup? Is it just the price point is too high for you?
I think I'd rather play Montgomery, to be honest. I
could do both in this matchup.
You can. It's just so hard to envision Cincinnati scoring points.
But we've seen Detroit. I mean, maybe they're not as motivated to just blow the shit out of the Bengals as they were the Bears. But
no, I mean that. But I'm saying I could just see Montgomery getting a huge workload because they're still I know last week was one of the few times we've seen Gibbs really outsnap Montgomery when they both went in the game healthy, right?
Yeah.
But I still think that that's the recipe. We were talking about this a few weeks ago, is in games that they control, pound Montgomery, and in games that, they can't, just pound Gibbs. And again, that's a really bad defense in Cincinnati. My other concern just about Gibbs at his price is number one, receivers, I think, have had at least 4 or more receptions in all 4 games versus the Cincy defense, 5 or more in 3 of the last 4. There's just there's so many ways to attack. St. Brown's on such a heater right now. J-Mo,
right.
You know what I mean? There's just so many things that I just I honestly, I would rather play A-Chain for $600 cheaper than I would play Gibbs at that price, because I know A-Chain's going to get a huge volume, and he is every week involved in the passing game. Yeah, he's cheaper.
Yeah. That's fair.
I don't hate it. Don't get me wrong. If you want to play Gibbs, I'm not going to knock it. Cincinnati sucks. Gibbs could have 10 carries for 200 yards at halftime. We know Gibbs is that kind of talent. He is. But I just think that Montgomery's 5,200. If I'm going to play a Detroit running back, I'd rather play him, because we've seen, even once Gibbs is ascended, there's a lot of games, including the Baltimore game earlier this year versus the second worst rush defense they faced this season. It was Montgomery that had the bigger game.
No, that's a good point. I think I'm sure I'll throw Gibbs into one lineup just because he's Gibbs and he's playing that defense. But I think you've talked me into Achane is probably the high priced running back to go with this week because it's a sizable. I mean, he's still expensive, but it's a sizable difference price wise between those two. And I think you're right that the opportunity share is just going to be greater for Achane.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to actually see what kind of run he goes on. Like if he stays healthy, I think the people that drafted him now, because I think Miami's going to be even worse, right? Like where they're down even more, and he's going to be their leading target guy. Like he's going to end up, I
That's
guarantee you,
probably
leading
true.
targets and receptions for the season for the Dolphins. And we're seeing with CMC and some of these guys that like, even with CMC averaging like 3 yards per carry, first time in his career, he's scoring like a zillion points. Like it's unbelievable because he's like wide receiver 4 or 3 or something on the season. It's ridiculous. Speaking of wide receivers that are actually wide receivers, I do want to mention St. Brown. I don't think I'm going to play him in a ton of lineups because of the same concerns I was just talking about with Gibbs.
That's the tough part.
But I will say again, 7 receptions or more in 3 straight games. He scored 6 touchdowns in that span. Jared Goff looks, I think, better this year than he did with Ben Johnson most of last year. I don't know, man. Like, I don't like Detroit's overall scheme and stuff as well, but for whatever reason, the OC does seem to be doing stuff that it's allowing Goff to be even more efficient and really more explosive than I even remember last year. Because last year it seemed like if it wasn't play action, it was a lot of, check down to St. Brown, check down to Laporte or whatever. And this year they're really like they're slinging it. But again, if I'm playing Fields, Garrett Wilson 6,100. The 2 games that complete games with Fields, what is it like? I think 16 or 15 receptions. Averaging over 20 fantasy points per game. And it's just the target volume. Again, Wilson is just, I think, still the only guy in the league that is accounting for more than 50% of like the targets, receptions, and fantasy points of all pass catchers on their team. And I mean, that's or maybe JSN, I think, might be the other one actually.
That would make sense.
But like, that's it. Like, that's the list. And as you see, JSN is much more expensive, and Garrett Wilson has a much better matchup. So like, playing Fields, Wilson will probably be, along with Quentin Johnston, the 2 wide receivers that I'm playing the most. Because look, folks, at this point, I'll take the L. Like I said, Johnston was a bust. And what was so funny was I loved him coming out of college. And just like, after watching him in the NFL, like not be able to catch passes, not separate, I'm like, well, I was just wrong. Like he's just not good. And at this point, you can't even call this 4 weeks a small, a big enough sample size because he was top 5 in receiving yards the last 4 games of last season. And now he's top 5 in receiving yards the first 4 games of this season. And then the volume, like the first 2 weeks, it was, oh man, it's going to be this deal where they're all getting like the same amount of targets and target share. Forget that. QJ, the last 2 weeks, man, has separated 21 targets, way more than Allen or Ladd. He's also by far the most efficient of the 3 with them. He's also scoring the most frequently. And Joe, why are they not raising him? He's 5,700. Like it took me a minute to find him because I had already looked at Herbert, right, in Hampton, so I knew the Chargers were on the slate, and I'm going, where the hell is QJ? This dude scored like 18 points in 6 out of his last 8 games or more, and he's all the way down in the 5K range.
Yeah, it's perplexing. Sometimes, I mean, we've seen it over the years. Sometimes they move slow when it comes to update. They kind of hold on to their priors. And in general, that's probably smart. But I mean, I think the thing with Johnston is, you could look back. If you only watched him his rookie season and then you watched him now, you'd be like, I don't know if he can keep this up. But of course, if you go back further, it's like this guy was a 1st-round pick. So the question was never really the talent. It was, could he get it to translate properly? Could he refine the parts of his game that needed to be refined? And I mean, shit, it looks like he has. And it's a weird thing too, because I like to look through a couple people's weekly rankings when I'm prepping for this. And then I'll be comparing those to, where their price point is. And let's see, he's ahead of 7 guys who are priced higher than him. And there's not that many guys because we're only in a 10 game spread here. It's like he was ranked higher on the 3 rankings that I like to check. Oh, like consensus. He was higher than Jamar Chase. It's like Jamar Chase got 7,800.
And he should be. Like at this point, looking at everything. No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, that's what's wild is like he should be.
Like he is a top, probably, if we're just going flex, he's probably a top 25, definitely top 30 play this week.
Think about the big wide receivers this year, Joe. Like it's been a mess if you didn't get Puka or JSN. Like a mess.
Yeah.
And here's this guy just every week, 6 receptions, 80 yards, a touchdown. Every week. And Herbert, again, is just throwing to him even more. I mean, it's wild to see that, again, jump because it's just not what you'd expect. Because he was throwing it a lot in the first 2 games. It was much more evenly distributed. And now there's like Ladd and Allen are seeing roughly the same targets.
Mm-hmm.
QJ is without a doubt the number 1 target hog. What do you think about Wilson? Are you in on him as well?
Oh, 100%. Real quick on Johnson.
Yeah, go ahead.
Johnston. Washington 10th in man coverage rate per PFF. Johnson 0.72 fantasy points per route run so far this season. 9 catches, 110 yards, and 3 touchdowns on 53 routes. So, and 26% target share, which he's actually, 20% against zone, which he's actually outpacing McConkey against zone and man in target share. So, but yeah, against man, he's been a top 16 overall player in fantasy points per route run this season. And he's playing a team that plays man at the 10th highest rate. So yeah, absolutely fire him up. I mean, Garrett Wilson, again, this Cowboys defense has been absolute trash. You know exactly what to expect from them. They've played man coverage at the lowest rate in the NFL.
It's like 76% zone. It's outrageous.
Yeah, and like they're a zone team and not a particularly good one, as we've seen in every week basically this season. Wilson, his man, he's been better against man, but he's still. It's not like we're scared of him facing a zone defense. And again, I also just think. If you're a team that plays man all the time, I think that is less enticing to me because usually, well, unless you're bad at it. But if you're good at it, it's like, all right, well, they just have really good corners, so that's not good. With zone, if you have competent offensive coaching, which I guess is still up in the air, this is a new staff, and they've looked really good week 1. They looked awful week 2. It's kind of been bouncing around. But, you can scheme up against this Cowboys defense. And so, again, yeah, at that price point, I mean, you lock those 2 guys in, you're getting them for under $12K. You got to feel really good about what you can do, especially if you're throwing in like Rachaad White at under 5,000. So, yeah, I'm all in on those 2. I'm probably just going to I'll probably have both of them in every lineup. Again, the other, another guy, we talked about earlier is Pickens, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, we've seen a little bit of Tolbert. They work Turpin into the game sometimes. But, he's the clear guy without Lamb. The Jets are not what they have been. I mean, actually, most of last year they were bad too. As soon as they fired Robert Saleh, that defense fell apart, and it has not rebounded. And they're going to play a shit ton of man coverage. And, I mean, Pickens is one of those guys, you just look at him, you're like, well, it's going to be tough to play man coverage against this guy. And Dak is playing awesome. I know, he's kind of a firebrand thing because he's the Dallas quarterback, but you look at every metric, he is playing at as high a level as he is playing.
The amount of dropbacks, like, to turn into on target pass attempts is outrageous, especially when their O-line's not been like great. Like he's been so good this year.
Yeah. So to me, he's also in that. And then again, going a little bit pricier, and the offensive line maybe talks people out of it, and fair enough if that's what happens. But Nico Collins against a Ravens defense that you mentioned earlier has been really bad this year and is as banged up as any defense in the NFL. I think I read it was 6 starters are currently
if Kyle
supposed to be
Hampton's
out.
out, is that what will decide that for you?
Yeah, if Kyle Hamilton's there, then like we said, there's guys who are priced under him who you can feel really good about, and I would probably do that. But if Hamilton's out, again, if people remember last year, that Ravens defense was playing okay, but their one big weakness was they were giving up big plays in the passing game, and then they moved Hamilton from out of the box to deep safety, and that defense went to elite immediately. So if you're telling me he is out, and again, they're missing guys on the D line, so they're not going to get as much pressure. There's just and again, Nico Collins, I feel when he gets the opportunities, I feel as good about Nico Collins as all but 3 or 4 wide receivers in the NFL. And again, that's another team that plays a lot of man defense, and it hasn't shown up as much this year, but Collins absolutely has roasted man defense the last 2 years. So he's another guy very high on my radar.
Let me ask you something real quick, because I just realized, because this, believe it or not, Juan's comment about Justice Hill a trap. Did me and you fall for the trap of forgetting what Derrick Henry does against the Houston Texans?
Oh, that's a good point. It's a good point. I kind of forgot because they're not in division anymore.
I mean, I'm pretty sure even in his first game with Baltimore, he murdered him.
I was gonna say I'm gonna pull up the game log here for Derrick Henry against the Texans, because
and I'm disappointed we forgot.
He's won us a lot of money.
That was one of our first trends that we got on early when we started. It's like, oh, Derrick Henry's playing the Texans. He's in every lineup.
Yeah, here comes 200 yards. And that's not even hyperbole. It's not
it's not. It was like a freaking.
He ran for a lot of yards. No, it's literally he was running for 200 yards like every single time he played. Won me a fantasy championship one year because of that. So, God bless him. My computer is being super.
That's all right. We'll get to this question while it's coming up.
Was
offered Pickens, Kyron Williams, Hunter Henry for CMC, Kelsey, and Franklin. He's obviously, he's pretty strong at running back. He's super strong at wide receiver. I don't think I would, man. You're so good at wide receiver that.
Damn, he is good at wide receiver.
I think I would. I want CMC. It's just like it's unreal what he's doing right now. Like CMC is one of the best fantasy football players ever. Like he's entering that stratosphere. This is now his 5th or 6th season where he's been number 1 basically.
He was the guy you were talking up, right? If I'm remembering right, preseason.
Well, just because again, where he was going in the draft, I'm like, look, I know it's a risk. They're all risk, and this dude's ceiling is number 1 overall. Like, isn't that the dream? Is you get somebody at 10th that ends up leading the league in scoring. And I think how little he played last year actually helped him. And also just how big he is now, Joe. Good God almighty. Did you see the picture with his dad and his brother Luke?
No, I did not.
He looked like fucking Thor or Hulk or something. I was like, good God. It's and he's talked about he changed his body, right, to where he's not quite as quick of a runner, but he's more physical. And obviously you see in the passing game, he still does it. I don't hate the trade, Adrian. I'm okay with it. To me, CMC is by far the best player of that group. And it's not like you're getting
100%.
Back a ton in return for, again, the number 1 guy in fantasy right now. The guy scoring the most points. If you really do want to move CMC, say, because you're worried, I go back to him, look, dude, you got to offer something more. No offense. this George Pickens thing's great. Lamb's coming back. Kyron Williams fumbles, and who knows? We saw what happened last night. Thanks for losing my eliminator. And Hunter Henry, like, I think it's great the volume he's getting now, but that's going to continue to decline as Stephon Diggs gets more involved, and we're already seeing that. So there's no way I'm giving up CMC for that. Like, I'm just not. Like, I think the team you have right now is the favorite to win, and I'd just roll with it, bro.
Yeah, I think everything you said there is right. Where that trade could make sense to me if I really needed more depth.
Right.
Because you're getting more good players back in that trade. But yeah, when you already have a really good team, I mean, I know I read that McCaffrey this year, and this was in half PPR, which I want to say he might be even higher than full PPR. He was the 9th overall wide receiver through the first 4 weeks. And then yesterday, I think it was like 8 for 88 and a touchdown through the air. So
Joe, he's third in receiving yards now. I know he's played an extra game.
Right, he's played the extra game, but he's a running back. Like,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
So, again, we're not accounting for his running at all.
And the first 4 weeks, because this was one of our stats this week, he was averaging 18.6 fantasy points per game as a receiver. And like, yes, it's concerning that he's averaging like 3 yards per carry. It doesn't matter. Like, I mean, San Francisco's so banged up that like he's going to continue to get this volume. And the great part is if all these receivers all of a sudden get healthy and the Ayuk and the Kittles and the Jennings, guess what that's going to do? Defenses are not going to be able to load 7, 8 in the box against CMC, the runner. So again, yes, he could get hurt. That's always a risk with any player, but it was, what I was saying this summer. I just don't know how my teams are not better because I really did. I know a lot of draft picks in the first 4 rounds where, like, I liked the guy. Like, Puka was my favorite second-round guy. CMC was my favorite first-round guy. Jalen Hurts was my favorite fourth-round guy. And yet, still, a lot of my teams suck. So, that's
well, yeah, it's one of those weird things, too. Like, every year, I feel like my brother and I are usually
Uh-oh. Look at Joe's face, too. That's amazing. He did just say his internet was struggling, so we'll see if he gets back here. We'll keep rolling, though, guys. Tight end position.
Finish our auction draft.
Oh, there you
are. He's
0-8. You were froze
sorry,
forever. You like came back from the dead there, bro. That was impressive. I was like, damn, we lost Joe. I'll go ahead and move on to tight ends. Your face, too, is just great. It like caught you like,
dude, that's how I want to be seen.
Oh, it's I was thinking the Simpsons episode.
To make my point really quick, like, my brother and I think similarly, and I feel like every year in our draft, I'm like, fuck, like his team's the favorite. That's the team I wish I had. And then this season, he is 0-8 because we get the extra win or loss depending on the points.
Median point, yeah.
And my team's ravaged by injuries and it might all fall apart, but like he is 0-8 right now, and I'm just like, you. And again, like I would have targeted a lot of the guys he went for. And it's just sometimes shit happens. But to go back to Derrick Henry real quick, 9 games he's played against the Texans since 2019. 4 of those 9 games he's gone for over 200 yards.
What did he do in the one Ravens game? Because didn't he play against the Ravens?
I don't think that he has.
So
wait. No, he did. You're right. 27 for 147 and a score. And he also got 2 receptions, which doesn't always happen. So.
And he's in the low 7K range. Or is he in the 6K range?
You're going to talk me into this.
I want to throw him in a lineup. Like, Joe, I would.
You're right. I got to throw him in one. You're right.
I mean, I know, again.
I don't want to because it's Cooper Rush, but you're right. Like, they probably, if the defense can just play half competent and you can keep
Texans are going to be feeling frisky, like, oh, we're going to shut you down, Derrick Henry. It's like, don't forget, I own your ass, okay? So that's great. Thank you for checking that. The tight end, Joe, right? Like, it's Jake Ferguson. I mean, what are we doing here? Really? Like, I have another guy. I actually have another 2 guys if you just want to punt and go super cheap. But, I mean, at this point, like, really, what are we doing? Ferguson among tight ends, right? First or second fantasy points per game, expected fantasy points per game, targets, and target share. Facing a Jets D that's allowed 4+ receptions to opposing tight ends in 3 or 4 games. He's seen 33 targets over the last 3. That's more than most of the wide receivers on the slate. He's 4,800. And then, by the way, He's on the team that throws it more than any team in the NFL. They throw it 44 times a game. So you have a guy at 4,800 seeing double-digit targets and a great matchup that you assume they're going to throw it a ton. I'm not going to overthink it. Like, I know that you can go cheaper. I think in those lineups, I'm going to go bully tight end. But I just think Ferguson at 4,800, there's nobody, even the running backs, that I think are more valuable than Ferguson at his price.
Ooh. Now I'm just thinking about that because I agree with the rest. Now I'm just like, do I like him more than the running? Probably I would take Rachaad White over him, and then the rest of them I would agree. Yeah, everything you said. Like we said, this is a funnel offense, and Ferguson is the second largest funnel in the passing game. And it feels weird to talk about a Jets game and be like, this is the game where I might load up the most, but it probably is.
And this is not a one-year sample size. Like, let's not forget the Jets were really bad on defense last year. Maybe we need to forget the team from 2-3 years ago because they're dead.
Right. Yeah, we have to see multiple weeks of this defense looking good before we start believing that. And yeah, I mean, and obviously, I love McBride every week, but he's $1,000 more. And so far this season, Ferguson's outproduced him. Bowers at some point, I expect, once he hopefully gets healthier, I think the big games will come.
I also underestimated. Geno is such a boomer bust guy. Like, he likes to push it so much that I think that hurts Bowers' value, and I did not think about that. Like, actually, I think Bowers is better suited with, like, an 8-0, Connell or somebody where it's like, well, I can't
Trey Tucker's the big winner.
40-yard down the field, and Geno's like, oh, I can fit that throw in.
Right. Geno believes he can make every throw, and that's what makes him fun, but also frustrating. Right. And you're right. If you're a tight end, that's usually not the guy you want. Laporta, I love the matchup, but again, it's everything that we've said so far. It's like, I like every Lions player. The problem is I like every Lions player. So unless they score 40, which they might, you're going to have a couple misses in there. Now, 4,200, that's a risk you could take. And like you said, though, I wouldn't take him over Ferguson unless I absolutely need the 600. Could I throw him into a double tight end lineup? Maybe. But I kind of feel like if I'm taking shots in that range, it's probably going to be one of those Cardinals running backs. So
I also think if you're going to go bully tight end, there's two guys under 3K that are great values. Mason Taylor's the first.
Okay.
The Cowboys, you said it. They run zone 76% of the time. Do you know how many receptions this year Mason Taylor has versus man?
Is it like 1, 0? I was going to say it's 1 or 0.
He has 12 receptions versus zone. And Coach Glenn went out last week following a week 3 where he saw 6 targets in the first Tyrod Taylor, the Tyrod Taylor start. And he said, we've got to get Mason Taylor involved. He got 6 more targets and had his best game of the season. So this is a better matchup than last week. Again, if you think the Cowboys will score points, I love that. The other guy, Tommy Tremble, who had him on my cash game cheat sheet last week. Did I play him everywhere? No. And he was so cheap. And it's the exact same thing I'm saying this week. Carolina's so banged up. They're so banged up. He's dirt cheap. They're probably going to be down. And they're facing a team that struggles stopping tight ends. So, like, this is the dream in cash, in my opinion, is when you can get these tight ends. That's how much, though, I like Ferguson. It's like, I just think he's such a value at 4,800 that he's a smash play for me. But the guys I love is when you're getting like in that 3,200 range. I know they're going to get 6-7 targets to where it's like, if they score a touchdown, I'm going.
I don't know if you know, but if they're on the off chance that we have any viewers who are teenagers or middle schoolers, they just lost their minds because you said 6-7. So
why is that? What is the 6-7? Hold on, I don't know this.
This is one of those things that I can't really explain because it's like it's somehow from a meme and a song, and I don't care enough to actually find out where it's come from. But I can tell you, as someone who teaches middle schoolers, if you say 6-7, the entire class will lose their mind. They'll all say 6-7. Anytime someone tries to draw on the whiteboard, if there's a 6-7 coming, It's insane. I posted a thing about it on my Instagram, and I was like, I don't know who the fuck's actually going to get this because I'm not friends with actually that many teachers.
Jeez,
And then
so old.
one of my high school buddies who has a daughter who's in 7th grade, he was like, when I told her that she weighed 6 pounds 7 ounces when she was born, she lost her mind. So I can't explain why, but that's I guess I'm the.
See, this is when you know that like we're old,
my
right?
kids
I just wanted to look up the definition real quick. It's a viral slang term with no single fixed meaning.
Right.
Originating from a TikTok song, sound and rap song, but it can refer to being so-so, a person playing with exceptional skill, meaningless, nonsensical phrase, just for fun. Wow.
You have to remember this is the generation that says like Skibbity Riz, Ohio, and Skibbity Toilet.
No. Look, Joe, and I don't mock them. We were idiots. Like, there's nothing worse than a get off my lawn rant. So you're not going to hear that from me. I catch myself sometimes getting to those. I'm like, wait a minute, Keith, you're not that freaking old. Don't forget.
Not yet.
It's like now in 20 years, I'll probably be watching Fox News and, yelling at clouds. But until then, I'm going to try to remember reality, right? Like what actually was going on when we were growing up and stuff. We were not saints. Times were not much safer. You just didn't hear about it. All right, defenses, let's get out of here. Is there any reason we shouldn't play Texans?
I am hard pressed to argue against it. Like this was like some weeks I stare at it for like 2 minutes and I'm like, all right, is it this defense? Like last week, the Jags, I only played because I had enough money in one of my lineups, and otherwise I didn't even think that highly of them. And then it was like, oh, that turned out to be one of the keys to that lineup. This week, I mean, yeah, we're getting Cooper Rush against a top 5 defense. I don't really understand this pricing. It's like they priced it in like Lamar is playing, and even then, I don't think I'd have them this low.
That's what I was trying to understand. Like, I know Lamar was doubtful from the beginning of the week, but I couldn't believe it. Like, it was another one of those deals where I'm like scrolling down. I went, man, is it another one of these weeks where it's just a bunch of garbage down, in our sweet spot, like that 2,500 and lower range? I'm like, wait a minute, the Texans are here?
Yeah.
Against Cooper. And again, I don't want to disrespect Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush is, he's a serviceable
He's played
backup.
solid before on Cowboys.
I meant to mention Zay Flowers. 39% of Cooper Rush's targets last week went to Zay Flowers. So if you think that Baltimore is going to be down and say you're running this Texans defense, I do like throwing Flowers in that lineup. He's like 6,200. He's another guy right in that kind of Garrett Wilson range that I think if they get down, he could see huge volume. And, he talked about, is this the Justice Hill? I also think Justice Hill is a guy that if you think, again, that they're going to be leading and it's a Baltimore, playing from behind, they're good plays. My concern is I do feel comfortable playing the defense. I don't feel comfortable saying the Texans are going to score a bunch of points because even when the Ravens sucked, like this Texans O-line is like, I was wrong. I thought they would figure out a way to patch it together. Larry Tunsil, they knew what they were doing. No, they didn't. Like you've set your quarterback even further by I just don't understand these organizations. Like you have these very fragile beings that are quarterbacks. He was as good, he was better, I think, than Jaden Daniels even because he wasn't running and he was just shredding.
Just from a pure pass.
Yeah, like what you want, right? Like because that can last much longer, right?
Sure.
And what did they do? They just obliterated his line year 2. And then year 3, they traded away by far his best player on his line and his blind side.
Right. And long term, I can see the argument, well, at least in regards to Tunsil, because, I do think sometimes people look at a PFF grade or something and they're like, oh, he wasn't that good. But the problem with Tunsil was he was committing stupid penalties. He had 5 false starts or something last year. His actual, and he's never been a great run blocker. He's been solid. He's been good. But he's a good to really good pass blocker. But the thing is, obviously, and they certainly proved this last year when he was on the team, offensive line is a lot like coverage, where sometimes your weakest link is really more important than your best player.
Yep.
Because that's where the other team's going to target. And when you had 4 weakest links, it was a problem. And so did it make sense to give him, top 5 tackle money, which is huge money in today's NFL, when you need to fix the rest of the line? Maybe not. The problem is they didn't do nearly enough this offseason to address it. Like, it's not like
the draft. That's what blew my mind. Yeah.
I'm lost there. Obviously, they were down the first rounder because of the Will Anderson trade. But
you see the Chiefs, though, again, right? Like, once again, what's his name? Simuata or whatever, that, like, I saw the other day, he had his first, like, elite game at tackle, right? Like, where he didn't allow one pressure, he just dominated. And it's like, this is what the Chiefs, the Eagles, like these good teams, they do over and over and over again, is they just keep adding depth and dudes on the O-line and D-line.
Right. Draft at least one guy every year.
We'll figure everything out. That's it.
100%. I mean, that's why, there's plenty to criticize about the Giants drafting over the last 10 to 15 years. But it's like when we drafted Abdul Carter, and you're kind of like, oh, well, how do you fit him in sometimes? Because you got Thibodeau, you got Burns.
Yeah, he's already, I've seen, right behind Parsons in pressures, I think, in pressure.
Right. And you see, and I saw some Giants fans be like, oh, of course, Thibodeau takes it to the next level after we draft Carter. And it's like,
don't you think that he's
part of the reason is because, all of these guys benefit from each other when they're on the field together. They're also fresher because they don't have to play 90% of the snaps. And then, if Thibodeau plays so well that in a year, it's like, we can't afford to pay him. It's like, well, then you have Abdul Carter. Because that's what the Eagles do all the time. They keep some of those guys. Some of the other ones, they go off. They say, Godspeed. We'll take a 3rd-round draft pick, comp pick, because you went and signed for $18 million somewhere else. And we'll continue to have an elite defensive line. And, I'm with you. Every year, you should be drafting a guy, offensive line, at least one, offensive line, defensive line, and
just like I've said
in the first
before,
5 rounds.
If you don't have the guy at QB, not saying you guys put a first or second rounder, but every year I'm taking one of them in the first 4 rounds. I'm taking one of the top 5 to 8 quarterbacks in the class and just seeing if you get lucky, right? Because at the end of the day, I feel like that's it. It's still offensive and defensive line. And then, obviously, you need a quarterback. But we've even seen in recent memory, you don't have to have an elite quarterback. You have to have a good quarterback. But if you have elite offense and defensive lines, looking at you, Philly, looking at you, Denver, a few years ago, you can win the whole dang thing.
Well, the other thing, too, that comes up when you're talking about drafting quarterbacks all the time is you can have an average quarterback. And if he's on that rookie contract, and you're spending in the right place, and you've built up the rest of the team well enough, because obviously, plenty of teams have fucked it up. The Chargers had Justin Herbert on a rookie contract, and they didn't do shit.
Bengals, Burrow.
They obviously made the one run, but that's it.
You're right. No, they did get the Super Bowl. That's fair.
Honestly, only a couple plays away from winning a Super Bowl.
That's true.
But
you're right.
But again, look at when the Seahawks drafted Russell Wilson, for going back in history. They just signed Matt Flynn. And they're like, you know what? This guy's better. He's in. Brock Purdy, that's an exceptional case because he's the last pick of the entire draft. But
in the same class as Trey Lance, which is wild.
Right. Which is the other thing, too, where, people, I think, the Browns thing is weird for a variety of reasons with their 2 quarterbacks. Because normally there's larger spacing if you draft 2. But even if you draft one, it doesn't hurt to draft the second. Again,
Kirk Cousins,
you draft RG3, and then you draft Kirk Cousins, and it turns
out of my head, Joe Matz, get out of my head.
Kirk Cousins is your starter for 5 years. So,
or you could sign Kirk Cousins for $100 million, draft Michael Penix. Only us. Any other defenses you want to mention before we get out of here? And Adrian, I'll go ahead and answer this for you. Yes, with the roster you sent me, I think you can get JSN for both of those guys. And I'd be okay with doing it. Because he's so loaded. It's actually his backs are where he's just dripping with freaking guys. He's having to decide whether or not to, sit Scattaboo or, the Tampa guys. If you can add JSN to that freaking receiving room and you still have CMC. And I think that's a pretty even trade. I really do, because Tampa, I think it's going to only be better now that Worth's back. They're going to figure out how to run it a little bit better than they did the first few weeks. And I mean, I wouldn't even, potentially if they get into where they're having to throw more, there could be weeks where the guy could play both of those guys. So yeah, you would have the two like target monsters in the NFL and CMC and JSN. I mean, obviously Puka too, but I don't even think Puka because Devontae Adams has the amount of the target share that these two dudes do.
Yeah, I'm looking through this defenses and
you'd have to go like way up, right? And it's like, why would I
yeah,
spend
because
that
I'm
much
like,
more to feel
well, I
even
could get
remotely comfortable?
yeah, I could get the Giants against the Saints, but do I feel that much better about it? Not really. I think those are probably pretty comparable
And they're
in
like
my
almost
mind.
3K, right?
And they're 2,900.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Eagles, Denver, maybe, but that's 32. Yeah, I like to really be like, I think I like this matchup more. You'd probably have to get up to the Colts against the Raiders, and that's 3,300. And like Baltimore against Houston, I actually feel worse. And that costs 3,400.
Dude, that's
So
where I don't get it. It's like, okay,
I'm
so
lost on
you're
that.
telling me because of the Lamar deal, it's not that big of a deal, right? Or actually, I guess it was a really big deal. Well, Baltimore's without like 85% of their defense.
They have negative points in 3 of the 4 games they've played. And yes, all right, it was Detroit, it was Buffalo, those maybe the 2 best offenses. Kansas City starting to finally get a little bit of health and being a little bit better. So, yeah, those are good teams that you faced. But if you're a good defense, you don't give up negative points almost any week. And they've done it 3 times in a month. And they're not healthier this week, or if they are, it's marginally so. So, yeah, I know it's the Texans, but it makes no sense to me. Because at best, I'd say that's a draw. And you're talking about 3,400 versus 2,400?
I mean, what are we always looking for? 3X? What are we doing here? They got to score 7.2 points.
7 points against
they basically
Cooper
done
Rush.
every week. So
I mean, obviously, if you want to hedge, just throw Derrick Henry in there just in case.
And Cooper will throw a pick 6. Let's get these 2 questions and we'll get out of here.
All right, let's hit it.
Already started Devontae Adams. Who do you want? Wide receiver 2 and 3, running back 2 and flex. So Addison is a must start. Like I feel like, and so is Johnston.
Yeah, Johnston.
And
Debo's healthy.
Actually, those are those. I mean, if Debo plays, there's your wide receiver 2, 3, and flex. Like I don't.
Yeah,
that's pretty right. Like I mean, I don't think it's close.
I mean, I guess because what Minnesota's playing Cleveland, right?
Correct.
No,
they're playing Cleveland.
Okay. I always forget the games that we don't do. I'm like, wait, what's that other game?
Well, it's because it's in London.
You're right. It's the London game.
And don't forget, like, the reason I feel so comfortable at Addison, the volume he got immediately. But even more importantly, you can't run on Cleveland. You can't. The only way you can move the ball on Cleveland is throwing the ball. And Addison is the ultimate guy that can have 1-2 receptions for 80 yards and a touchdown. Like, I actually think he's up there now, like in like almost like that Deshaun Jackson class. Because it seems like all the time you look over, he has like 3 catches, 90 yards.
My only issue there would be, I think their O-line is a little bit banged up, and that scares me against Cleveland. But like I would certainly play Johnston and Debo over him. But when I'm looking at those running backs, yeah, assuming it's PPR, I think I'd have to be with you. You go Addison over any of those backs.
And then would you go Henderson? Where are you going?
That's tough. I kind of feel like all of these guys are in a pretty similar spot for me. Man, I would probably say toss up between Henderson and Charbonnet, but I guess Henderson's the guy who hasn't fumbled so far, right? So maybe he's going to get a tick up.
It was disappointing though to see that week 3 was when they had all those fumbles, and he still was not like he saw basically about what he saw the previous 2 weeks, but that could change. All right, then we got one more. Would I trade Chase Brown for JCM? I personally would not.
I would not.
JCM is per PFF a top 5 running back. So why he is 3rd in rushing yards since the Eckler injury, I don't know what Dan Quinn's doing. I really
Yeah,
don't.
please,
Like I
please,
have
as a
no
JCM owner,
idea.
change that, please.
I have no idea. Like I don't have him anywhere, and I have Chris Rodriguez everywhere, so I'm fine with it. Like, look, for what I spent on Chris Rodriguez, for him to be the leading rusher of those three, I'm fine with it. And even though I don't understand it, like I don't get it, but it's like you assumed, right? Like when Eckler was out, that means okay, somebody's at least gonna grab a larger percentage of the rushing pie. It's been the opposite. It's like I don't trust any of them, right? So I just, at least with Brown, I know it's awful, and I get it, but at least he's getting opportunities, and the fact that like I do think Cincinnati had a really rough start if you look at the defenses that they played against the run, like elite defenses. They were killing. Not saying it's going to get miles better, but they do have 2 matchups coming up with Baltimore. Like they have these matchups coming against teams that cannot stop the run. And I would just assume that like Chase Brown has a much higher floor. Now I will say, if this is non-PPR, it's closer for me. But if it's PPR, I'd give me Chase Brown all day.
Yeah, like you said, I love the talent. I believe on PFF, Scatabo is the number 1 overall running back, and I think JCM is second or third, but he's number 1 in just pure rushing grade. So, shout out to the rookie running back.
I need to get you a shirt that says Scatabo, number 1 on PFF and in Joe Matt's heart.
Dude, those are my 2 guys, because Scatabo is obviously on my team, and then JCM
half PPR.
Only for a single game, but he suited up for my Arizona Wildcats. The 2 Arizona running backs, because you got ASU and Arizona represented there. But yeah, I love the talent, and obviously I like that offense a lot more than this Bengals offense. But if you're saying one guy is going to dominate the backfield and the other guy is going to get 30 to 40%, and 40% right now is optimistic in any given week. Yeah, it'll hurt you every week when you put Chase Brown in your lineup, but it's probably going to get you more points. So I would stick with it.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, buddy, anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
I felt like earlier today I thought of something, and now I'm blanking completely. So
was it 6-7?
No. Just spreading the gospel of 6-7, 69. You had a great run. Well done. You lasted for like 20, 30 years there. But it's now the time. It's the era of 6-7.
Wine 'em, dine 'em, 69. I'm like, that is like one of the first, sayings or whatever I remember hearing on the bus in like middle school. And I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I've seen parents say, like, I don't know what the 6-7 thing is, but if I don't have to explain 69 to my kid, I'll take it.
Right. Well, it's like the 420 thing, which like, again, when I was younger, like in high school, this would have been, I don't want to tell you guys my age, a long time ago. A lot of people didn't know what 420 was. And so they would be like,
interesting,
420. And I'd be like, 420, And it's just hilarious to me that now, like, it's a holiday. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's like, oh, it's 420.
Well, it helps that it's like legal in half the country now.
Well, that's true. Not in
we
Georgia.
Can celebrate.
So they just
You'll get there one day.
They want me to be an outlaw. That's what it is, Joe.
That's right.
They want me to be the rebel that I
It's good to feel like a rebel, right? Sometimes, especially a rebel for a good cause, unlike some past Georgians.
Absolutely. Walls, just want to say you won that trade for sure. When you have London, Nico, and Wilson, and you got
don't need
Ferguson, like if you listen to the show earlier, I mean the dude's averaging 11 targets the last 3 weeks. So, and I mean 2 of the game and a half of that was with Lamb. So I love it. That is a just volume monster roster week in and week out.
You get a top 5 tight end for your 4th wide receiver. I think you're feeling pretty good.
Very well done. Very, very well done. But you guys, we enjoyed y'all hanging out with us tonight. I think we got to everybody's questions. If not, I apologize if I missed any. Sometimes I get writing down stuff.
Send a tweet.
I'll scroll down to her. Yeah, just hit us up. We'll be happy to answer it. But again, apologies for last week. It's not my fault. Blame my wife. She's the one that had to go to the damn emergency room. We'll be here every Friday night. And we are hopeful that we will get back to doing the GPP show, but we want Kevin. Like, we want Kevin to be there. Kevin is really the expert in GPP. We're not. We enjoy doing it with him, and obviously we think we know a lot about DFS pricing and how to But like we were talking about this a day offline. You have to like almost think an entirely different way. And me and Joe have been doing cash for so long, it's very difficult for us to comprehend. That's why it's great to have Kev, because he kind of sets it up for us, and then we'll make our arguments from him picking a game, right? Or this or that.
And if we go astray, he can push back on us.
And that's one thing I love about Kev. He's like, no,
he's not afraid. He's not afraid to tell us we're wrong.
That's how you learn, though. That's the sad thing about this world is now when you get your little opinion slapped, you're like, get all pissy when it's like, no, that's how you learn. Like, if you think somebody's smart and they know what they're doing and you want to learn how to do that, sometimes you're going to have a bad idea. And when they tell you that, you just say, okay, let's go another direction.
Yeah. Back to the drawing board.
So, but anyway, I love doing this show with you. I can't believe we're in year 5. Or do we decide it's year 6, isn't it? 2021.
It was 20. Oh, shit, it is year 6.
It's year 6.
Because I was going to say we started during COVID. So this is year 6.
So
this is just a map of my 30s, is this podcast.
I love it.
So
well, wait till it's the map of your 50s and I'm in my 60s and big.
I've started thinking about it because I like our new lineups of 1 running back and 5 wide receivers in the new NFL 2036.
I've been saying, why do we not have a big Superflex DFS site?
That's true. We don't, do we? I mean, I just don't play a lot of Superflex, but I'm surprised that hasn't happened because it seems like it would catch on.
You could do Superflex with tight end premium, right? Like, and then have like basically where you start a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and have like 3-4 flexes. One of them's a Superflex. I mean, there's other ways. Like, all you want to do is get traffic to your site. And it's like one of the few things I have not seen. Like, I haven't seen it anywhere.
It feels
I'll mess with fantasy spins and a bunch of other stuff. So if you know how to build an app, hit me up.
Yeah. That's where the real money's at right there.
That's right. But I hope you have a good evening, buddy. I hope the Falcons and Giants win again this week. That was nice. We've already got one this season. Yeah, we got one down. So, but for Keith and Joe, go check out all the amazing stuff on fantasy6pack.net. Be sure to subscribe, follow all the amazing content on Fantasy Six Pack's social media, YouTube channel, etc. And we'll see you guys next Friday. Peace.